Is the iPhone 12 Pro Max worth it in 2024? Well, in today's video, we're going to find out. So if you are excited, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about the iPhone 12 Pro Max in 2024, shall we? Last week, I decided to make a video talking about the iPhone 12 Pro and the state of the iPhone 12 Pro in 2024. But now, 1 week later, and after almost 2,000 views of interest in that video, I decided to make an iPhone 12 Pro Max video. If you don't know, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, worth it or not, in 2023 was my best watched video ever. It has now almost like 30,000 views. So if you are excited to see how my channel actually was 1 year ago, go check it out. But in today's video, it's going to be, is the iPhone 12 Pro Max worth it in 2024? Because this phone came out in 2020. And like I talked about in last week's video, the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, they had a difficult challenge. They had to compel people to upgrade from the iPhone 11 Pro Max and 11 Pro. Those were fantastic phones. Although they kept the same design from the iPhone XS and the iPhone X, they had the extra lens, the ultra-wide lens for the first time. It had incredible battery life, it had very good features, and the A13 chip was lightning fast. So Apple had a tough challenge with the iPhone 12s. What did Apple decide to do? Well, they changed the design forever in the iPhone. They created the squared off look that could actually influentiate every iPhone from then on. The iPhone 13 Pro, 14 Pro, 15 Pro, they all come from this design. And the iPhone 12s, believe it or not, they came a bit late. The iPhone 12 Pro Max came together with the iPhone 12 mini around the November timeline. So it was only sold during about 10 months because the iPhone 13 Pro Max was released on September. So 10 months, more or less. This was one of the shortest cycles ever for an iPhone. The iPhone 12 Pro was different. It came out in October together with the iPhone 12. But the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 Pro Max only came in November. So 1 month later. At that time, I decided to go for the iPhone 12 Pro. But after 1 or 2 months, I kind of regretted my decision because the iPhone 12 Pro Max is so much better in very different ways. So let's talk about it. For starters, this iPhone had a bigger display than the iPhone 12 Pro. This has a 6.7-inch display, while the iPhone 12 Pro had a 6.1-inch display. That might actually sound that this phone is huge. Trust me, it is. But something about this new design and form factor made this iPhone feel super premium, but also very light and thin, which is actually true. This is the thinnest flat edge design iPhone ever. Yes, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is super thin, and if you actually compare it with newer iPhones, the iPhone 13 Pro especially, it does feel a lot thinner. Although this is the only iPhone featuring 6.7 inches of size that has the old notch design. This was the last time that we saw the old long notch on the iPhone, because Apple replaced it on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. This was also the last Pro iPhone not to feature 120 Hz, and at that time, that was a big issue for me. So yes, although the design was new, much things were still recycled from the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and the big changes would come on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. The video camera here is not the best. Although it can record HDR video, it does not have ProRes video. And yeah, that would be a big thing with the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Also, it's not capable of recording cinematic video, another feature added on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It does not have 120 Hz, does not have the macro mode. So, although these cameras were great, they were not the best. And Apple decided to upgrade their cameras by a long shot on the iPhone 13 Pro Max together with the display and the battery life. Because even though this is the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the battery life was not the best. So, as you heard, this might not sound like a good phone, and a phone that aged pretty badly. Am I right? Wrong, because lots of people still use the iPhone 12 Pro Max, they are super happy, and this phone ended up being a great value in 2024. You can get an iPhone 12 Pro Max right now for $450, $500. And that's still great, because this has about the same design as the newer iPhones, still has the triple camera system, still has an amazing OLED display, does feature 5G, this was the first time that Apple introduced 5G on an iPhone, does feature lightning port, that's probably the worst part of it, an amazing speaker system, and yeah, I do believe it features some pretty cool colors with the midnight blue. But is the iPhone 12 Pro Max worth it in 2024? Because that's a very tough question to answer. Again, for that price, I don't think there's any other Android phone that can beat this in terms of value. The battery life on the Pro Max model, when compared to the Pro that I reviewed last week, is much better. It's bigger, and so because of the bigger size of the cell, it's much more reliable. It lasts you easily 1 day, and if you are not a power user, maybe 1 day and a half. This is worse than the iPhone 13 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max, and now even the newer iPhones, but still, for a normal everyday use case, the iPhone 12 Pro Max will be more than enough. The iPhone 12 Pro might die, but the iPhone 12 Pro Max definitely won't. So, in terms of battery life, the Pro Max size phone is definitely a benefit. And right now, in 2024, the differences between the Pro phone and the Pro Max are not that big, like $100. So you can get one, grab one for $500. It's an amazing deal. And they had 128 gigabytes to starters. So I think it's way more than enough for you to buy the base model iPhone 12 Pro Max and get the same design or almost the same design as the iPhone 15 Pro Max, an incredible flat edge design that feels super premium. You get the triple camera system, you get good battery life, you get the OLED display. $500, this is one of the best value phones out there. If it had 120 Hz, it would be the best. But I want to come back to the benefits of having the iPhone 12 Pro Max over the iPhone 12 Pro, because overall, this lineup I talked about in last week's video. So if you want to check out all the details and more in-depth analysis on the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, go check out that video. This will be more of a comparison between the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max and why should you pick the bigger size in 2024. Because I do believe with the bigger battery being the most important factor, there's also another factor on the camera side that might be very, very important for you, and that's the telephoto. The telephoto on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a 2.5x telephoto, not a 2x telephoto. So essentially, it's not a 48mm equivalent telephoto, or at least a 70mm equivalent telephoto. It's closer to a 60-something, 67 I do believe. So it's a 2.5 over a 27mm wide lens, I think it is. I think this is a 27mm, it's not a 24. But correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe this telephoto is around 65 to 70mm in terms of equivalent focal length, but it's a 2.5x. So it's great, the camera is great. The display is an OLED display, so when you are taking photos, it's also great. But having a 2.5x telephoto, right there, as you can see, it's focusing on my eye, that's a 2.5x, you have the ultra-wide, and you have the wide lens. Other than that, there are no more differences between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and 12 Pro. The 2.5x telephoto, this also was the first phone to feature optical stabilization on the lens, so the video is way more stable here than it is on the iPhone 12 Pro. This is the first time that it was actually stabilized on the lens, not on the sensor, so it's actually a great feature to have on the iPhone 12 Pro Max over the iPhone 12 Pro. And at the end of the day, a bigger display, a 6.7-inch display, a bigger battery, and of course a better telephoto and wide camera, I think it justifies the extra price that you pay for the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Again, at the end of the day, it's a choice of size. Do you want the bigger 6.7-inch display that is present here? Do you want the smaller 6.1-inch display present on the iPhone 12 Pro? That's what you need to decide. But I do believe right now, if you decide to go for the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the chances that you will get a better battery health phone, a better battery experience are just higher, because this phone does have a bigger cell. So over a long period of time, the degradation on the battery is actually lower. So to try it out, I told you that last week the phone had about 86% or 83% degradation on one device and the other had 81. So around 80%, 83%. This phone might surprise you, but this is 3 years old, 4 years old. I think it bought it on March of 2021, if I'm not wrong. Right now, it's 89. Just to prove you, look, 89%. 3 years of use, more than 3 years of use, 89%. Insane. This is my mom's phone. It's in incredible shape. Of course, my mom has incredible charging habits. She does not charge this phone to 100%, never. She never lets the phone die. She never charges every day, so she only charges when you need it. So at the end of the day, if she has 60%, she just leaves it like there. She does not have that very bad charging habit that kills your battery, which is charging overnight every day. No, she simply puts it to the charge when she needs it, from 10 to 80%. So the battery health here, it's incredible. And of course, she's not a power user, so the battery life is not that much degraded. Again, 89%, 3 years, and in terms of any damage that I can have to the phone, stainless steel, the glass back, nothing. This phone has held up incredibly well. So, yeah, $1,000, $1,100 in 2020, now in 2024, the phone still looks new, still looks incredible, and if it wasn't for the 120 Hz not being present on this display, I wouldn't mind having it in 2024. That's how good the iPhone 12 Pro Max is. So if you don't really care about 120 Hz, this is the perfect choice for you. You'll get the huge phone with an incredible display, incredible battery, and, oh my god, an incredible experience. iOS, iMessage, FaceTime, incredible speaker system, And all of the benefits of having iOS, the ecosystem, Apple Watch support, there are so many things that will push you through for the iPhone 12 Pro Max over some cheap Android phone that costs $500. That's the thing. Most people think, I need to buy new, I need to buy phones that have come out this year. That does not make sense, because when you can get these types of deals for $500, I need to convince you to get these phones because they are really, really good. And the experience that you will have with them, you'll be very, very happy. A 3-year-old flagship in 2024 is still better than a mid-range phone. Android phone, I don't care. Because iPhones, they have a tendency to last longer, especially newer iPhones. From the iPhone 11 upwards, they do really last very, very long. And the iPhone 12 Pro Max is simply a proof of that. 90% or 89% of battery health, 3 years old. The chassis incredible, the design is still very up to date, the OLED display is still incredible, amazing. Everything about this phone is simply still very, very up to date. And for $500, I think it's the perfect value iPhone in 2024. If you don't care about 120 Hz. Because if you do, I will push you through for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. About the same phone as the iPhone 12 Pro Max with slight changes. A bit thicker batteries, which give you a bit better battery life. A bit bigger camera, so will give you better video and better photos. Support for the cinematic mode in ProRes, and especially 120 Hz on the OLED displays. Other than that, this phone has 1000 nits peak brightness. It has OLED displays, high contrast ratio, HDR support, can shoot video on HDR. So if that's something big for you, then the iPhone 12 Pro Max is definitely a great choice. The only big deal breaker on this phone is definitely the Lightning port. As for every other iPhone other than the iPhone 15s, the iPhone 12 Pro Max features the Lightning port. And you already know my opinion if you watch my videos. The Lightning port is obsolete now in 2024. If you don't care about that, if you have still lots of Lightning cables around, lots of iPhone accessories, especially Lightning accessories, then you don't really care, and because you have older iPhones, upgrading for the iPhone 12 Pro Max with Lightning port, it's no hassle. Go for it, it's not a big deal. But if you are like me, you have tons of accessories, tons of products like the Mac, the iPad, your camera, everything uses USB-C, and you are upgrading for this phone because you simply want a newer iPhone, you want to use the iOS experience and even come from Android, well, you will be very, very disappointed because this iPhone does not feature USB-C, the universal port. It features the Lightning port. This charges slower, this passes data slower, and this is a proprietary port. So it will only charge your iPhone and your iPhone accessories that feature Lightning. Other than that, nothing else. So you need to carry around 2 cables everywhere you go. So that's a big deal for me, and I might end up saying for myself, it's a big deal breaker. But I do believe that for most people, it isn't, and having Lightning on their iPhones is no big deal. To finish off, I want to talk about the cameras because I do believe it's something very, very important and something that is different between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and 12 Pro. The iPhone 12 Pro, like I talked about before in this video, features a smaller wide lens and a smaller telephoto. So the photos coming out of these wide lenses are much, much better than the 12 Pro. They are brighter, they have more colors, the colors pop more, and they have this bigger sensor feeling that the iPhone 12 Pro does not have. Because the sensor is simply bigger, can capture more light and create a bit more bokeh on their photos. Of course, the ultra-wide lens is the same, but they do not share the telephoto. The telephoto is different on the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. Like I told you before, the 12 Pro is an equivalent to a 2x telephoto, the 12 Pro Max is a 2.5x. This creates different telephotos and portrait shots. So if you prefer one to the other, it's something that you might need to consider if you want a 2x or a 2.5x telephoto. On the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the phone that I do believe is the best value iPhone in 2024, it features a 3x telephoto. So yes, Apple improved from the iPhone 11 Pro Max to the iPhone 12 Pro Max and then to 13 Pro Max, going for a 2x to 2.5x, now to 3x on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But if you don't really care about that, the iPhone 12 Pro Max does feature a great telephoto that can take incredible shots with good lighting conditions. Because if you go to not that ideal lighting conditions, the only camera that you end up using is the wide lens. This is great at night, takes incredible shots, and the low light video is good. Low light photography could be better, but it's not bad. I think it's better than like 90% of mid-range Android phones, but the video here is definitely the highlight because, again, iPhone video is great, can shoot HDR video if you are into that. Myself, I don't like it because it brightens up the image very much and it looks artificial, but if you do like it, this phone can do it, can shoot it. It features incredible video. Stabilization is great. Now with this on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, exclusive with the stabilization on the lens, the optical stabilization on the lens, not the sensor. The 12 Pro features it on the sensor, not the lens. So the iPhone 12 Pro Max video is even more stable. If you like to vlog, if you like to shoot stories for Instagram, this is great because they will look even more professional. So yes, I do believe if I was me choosing this phone or the iPhone 12 Pro, if I was in that position now in 2024, which of these iPhones would I choose? Simple, the 12 Pro Max. It has a bigger battery, better cameras, better display because it's simply bigger. I prefer bigger displays, and I wouldn't mind because the bigger chassis gives you some things that you need to compromise on the size, but also gives you incredible things like the battery life and the bigger display. So yes, this was an incredible iPhone in 2020, and in 2024 has held up really, really good. So would I buy it in 2024? Definitely. Yes, thank you guys for watching. I will definitely buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max in 2024. Try to get a good deal, try to check out the battery health, always buy iPhones with 80% more in terms of battery health, and of course, try to check out damage on the phone, the display, if it's original or not, if the battery is original or not. If it's a good deal, if it's like $500, go for it. This iPhone is still very, very worth it in 2024. All the features here end up being still very, very, very up to date, and the design, the cameras, the display, they will not disappoint. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments down below what you think and which one would you pick, the iPhone 12 Pro or the 12 Pro Max. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.